Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again. A new version has dropped, and of course, with a new version and its live stream, we're gonna have full details regarding every single banner that's arriving with it. And this is one of the most oddly designed, set of phases I think I've ever seen in the history of the game, because there's one unit in particular from the new units that's getting a lot of help, at least from the schedule, and then there is another unit that is really getting screwed over. Because in Wuthering Waves, when it comes to pulling units and stuff like that, there are some units that really need specific partners to perform. And for, well, some of them, those partners are going to be on banner. But for others, it might be a better idea to skip them if you don't have the tools necessary to get them working on release. So let's go ahead. Let's get right on into it. And if you're saving up for some of the upcoming banners, you've got to check out Enjoy GM. It's a top-up platform that gives you some of the best prices on in-game currency, especially for Wuthering Waves, with discounts up to 20% off. New users get 8% off site-wide that's stacked with member deals. 6480 plus 1600 Lunites for just $75. Note, discounts may vary by the region. The process is super simple. Just your UID and server and your Lunites will arrive in minutes. They also have 24/7 customer support and work with tons of global payment methods, so it's fast and convenient. Plus, Enjoy GM is certified with PCI DSS security standards and has received consistently high ratings on Trustpilot, a platform you can trust completely. I've tested it myself. It's safe, legit, and saves you real money. If you want to stock up on your Lunites before the banners drop, click the link in the description below or the pinned comment and start saving with Enjoy GM today. So now that we're back, the first unit that we're going to be focusing on is, of course, Qingxiao. And this unit is going to be one that we have pretty much all of the details for, given that her set is already in the game and her new 4-cost Echo has been officially revealed and all of its stats are there too. So this is how she's basically just going to be working. You're going to go ahead, go into the event menu, then see new enemies. And then you're going to see this Echo skill, and you're like, oh, wait. So what this thing does is it, A, gives you arrow damage bonus as one of the main passives, and then an additional one when you inflict Tune Strain Shifting. Qingxiao is basically, in the live stream, she was conferred to be a Tune Strain Shifting character. So you can guess what's going on. She's mainly an arrow damage dealer, and her damage type is... well, she doesn't actually have a damage type, right? Because this is just more arrow damage. And so what that means is that across her Echo build and stuff like that, you're going to be focusing on things like attack percentage versus specific damage types, mainly for the reason of, well, she doesn't really have one listed out. Like a heavy attack or a basic attack or a liberation damage. None of that is there. It's just straight up arrow. Arrow damage isn't a type now. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so that is going to be what she's working with in the 4-cost. And then, of course, you can already see, because the set's been in game since 3.5, and hopefully you've been pre-farming it if you haven't already, if you're building the character, right? Sorry, it's on my John Shin. The set is fully there and everything, and it works just with that 4-cost, right? Where you, A, inflicting Tune Strain Shifting increases your crit damage by 20% and your arrow damage bonus by 30% for 15 seconds. So as you can see, it's all ready to go from that front. But this is kind of the issue, right? This is kind of the thing that's happening over here. This is another arrow character. You likely already have an existing arrow character called and they're both arrow sword users that don't necessarily have a main damage type, that are both DPSs. And so it's kind of a situation of okay, are you ready to put Cardathea on the bench? And then B, do you also not have Sigrika? Because she's also another arrow damage dealer that's really good, and it's unnecessary for you to get Qingxiao either if you have her as well. And so that's kind of the situation, right? This unit has so little value because she's just a general arrow damage dealer if you already have a Sigrika or you already have a Cardathea, because that's well, obviously, that's the role that she's supposed to be filling on the roster. And so the end result is basically this. If you don't have an arrow character, and you also have some of the other ingredients for Toon teams, this might be a good idea as a unit to go for. Because assuming you don't have Sigrika, you may be a newer player, there's absolutely nothing in the way of pulling this unit for you. Because on the second half of the patch, or sorry, on the other half of the first phase, you've got Denia, who is the Tune Strain sub DPS, the Toon Strain sort of support. And what this unit does is, well, you kind of already know by now, this unit is capable of two main roles on the battlefield. One is A, where they just make Toon Strain characters deal a fuck ton more damage, which is exactly what she's going to be providing for good old Qingxiao. And then you can have the Fusion Burst side of her, which works with Imyth. And guess who's on banner right now? You got Imyth on banner right now, and that's going to work really well with your Denia, right? So you can kind of see what's happening over here. Qingxiao suddenly becomes a much more interesting option if you already have Denia on your account. And if you have your Denia from like an Imyth or something like that, or maybe from your Luke, then yeah, this is definitely a character that suddenly becomes a lot more appealing, right? But this also gives you the opportunity, if you don't have any of these characters yet, and you have, say, an Imyth that you just pulled, well, now you can pull Denia to build out Imyth's Fusion Burst team, and then you can build out good old Qingxiao right afterwards. And now you have Denia be able to support two teams pretty well. But that all is only really viable. That all is only really possible if you need another arrow DPS, and it makes sense for you to actually pull this character. Because I am kind of like in this position when it comes to the characters in this empty. There's a good chance it's a good idea for you to skip her. For a majority of players, it is actually going to be a good idea for you to skip Qingxiao. Are you going to, though? We will see. So yeah, we've already gone ahead and we've already talked about Denia and the role that she plays. Basically, she is like the Toon Strain enabler, and she is also the Imyth Fusion Burst enabler. But this is the realization that I feel like a lot of people also need to have about Denia as a character. She's kind of one of the most unnecessary units on like any account ever. And that was what she was like on her first rerun too, specifically because Imyth already has a very, very, very good team where you just like use her with like, you know, Linné and Mornye, right? Like that team is also going to be really, really, really good in pretty much all the content in the game. And like the end result is that like, you could just go Linné, Mornye, Qingxiao as well, and like Linné, Mornye, Imyth. Right? And like, I don't think Linné is going to be that much worse for a Qingxiao than a Denia, because Linné also has her Toon Strain mode, and she also has a good amount of like, you know, general amp as well, and then she also has Tomb Break boost built in her kit. Yeah, it's like Tomb Break boost is built into her visual impact over here. Yeah, she gives 40 points to everybody, and that's going to help Qingxiao's damage too. Because that's how Toon Strain works. It scales off Tomb Break boost. So, like, Linné and Mornye are also going to be very important characters, and then Imyth uses those, and so does Qingxiao pretty decently. So it's kind of just like a... This unit is good for getting to, like, the next step, the maximum possible DPS in that team. But it's also, like, not having her, the teams are all going to clear the content as well. So it's just, like... I can't comfortably say that she's even close to a must pull, because Linné can kind of just like do her job in pretty much all the contexts that she exists in. Slightly worse, but like it's still enough to clear. And Linné also ran in the first half of this patch. So if you have Linné and you're on like a newer account, maybe don't pull her just yet, because you might not actually need her just yet. Just something to keep in mind. But one thing you also can do with like a Linné and also having Denia on your account is that means you also get to play Qingxiao and your Imyth at the same time. Where Denia's going to go with Qingxiao, and then, well, these two would go with like your Imyth or something. So that's another possibility too. Now though, we need to have a conversation, and that conversation is going to be focused on the weapons. So remember what I said about Qingxiao being a character that doesn't really have a damage type? That means that her weapon is likely also not going to have very many equivalents other than, well, you probably guessed it, EOG. Right? You can just look at the gallery of the swords over here, and you'll be able to quickly identify, wait, there's not really any weapon in the game that just generally buffs all damage. Except for, like, this one, but, like... That's an HP weapon, so it's also Cardathea's, right? You want a weapon that just gives you attack and not necessarily a damage type. It's only this. Literally, EOG is the only, like, real alternative to Qingxiao's weapon when she doesn't have a damage type. And this is what I'm gonna say. Hey, just try her on EOG first, bro. you got to try her on EOG first. Because EOG is also free. Gives attack, good stats, good ER, all of that. And this thing's obviously going to give a higher damage bonus. But will you need it to clear? Probably not. You probably won't actually need it to clear. You'll do just fine on EOG, just like every other limited character that is ever released that's a sword user. Because that's kind of like how they operate. Like iMyth Hiyuki, they do not need their signature to clear content. And it's a similar sort of story for this. Rectifiers are in a fucked up position because they don't have a good standard rectifier at all. And the kind of like end result is this. If you don't have a single limited rectifier, picking up Denia's is not a bad idea. But if you have a single limited rectifier, you basically don't really need to pull many of them that frequently. Because the buffs on these weapons are so small as like a whole. It's kind of like you could just have like a regular stat stick as well. For example, the main bonus that this thing gives is 24% attack to the entire team, which is like decent, right? It's like 2 subs, but like if she's on like a string master, the actual difference in team damage is very little. It's very small, and it's not worth the pulls to get like to upgrade this to this in any context. You could even use this too, right? Or like even this or like that. Right, you can use all of these, and you won't be losing that much. That's the point. Sometimes I don't even know that a string master is on like a character like Lucilla, which has the similar sort of buff, right? 24% attack. And sometimes I don't even notice. There's like almost like you can't even like just miss a crit and it'll be different, right? So yeah, that's my take over here when it comes to things like these sub DPS weapons. Get them if you truly do want the highest level of performance, but it is not even close to required to clear anything in the game. And that's that. So yeah, now we gotta move on to the second phase. And, well, you probably guessed the discussion that's being had over here, right, about the second phase. This dude is fucked. I have never seen a set of banners before where one character is getting screwed over so badly, it's like almost unreal. This unit, effectively, does not have a single teammate across 5 banners because there are 3 in the second phase. So he's just releasing into literally hell. And the only consolation prize is that he is a heavy attack damage dealer. And Mortefi's on his banner. But guess what? He's an HP scaler. So, like, I pray that he's got some type of attack scaling in his kit, right? Because Mortefi is kind of like... Oh, sorry. We'll get to the 4 stars on the other banner soon. I realize I completely forgot about them. Yeah, we'll get to the 4 stars on the other banner in just a second. But Mortefi, right, is the shining light on this banner for one specific reason, because he's a heavy attacker. Mortefi buffs heavy attack a lot. He's got a good amount of amp, 38%, right? But then Mortefi's also got this, where he buffs everybody's attack by 20%, and then he got static mist too, and then you got moonlight clouds, right? See what's going on over here. Yeah, that's a lot of attack buffing. I hope Jingran can at least slightly benefit from it. I hope he's got some attack scaling somewhere in his kit, or this is not a good situation. And I think the reality over here is very simple. An HP scaler that does this. This is what Jingran's set says. Upon gaining a shield, gain 5% increase in crit rate for 5 seconds, max 4 stacks. So you're spamming shields on this guy. Who really benefits from shield spamming on their DPS? Oh, right, you know. The heavy attack damage amplifier, right? Because that's a lot. 50% heavy attack damage amp is a lot. That proceeds to buff the DPS with the blessing of the wand light when they refresh a shield. Gaining a shield inside the domain grants 1 stack of the blessing of the wand light. 4% all damage amp for 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. So he gains up to 90% damage amp for heavy attacks if Yuno is on his team, because he also refreshes the shield, right? And he'll be able to stack this bad boy up. But guess who's not rerunning with him? Yep, no, he's got no Yuno. His best in slot partner is obviously Yuno, but there is no Yuno here. Are you beginning to see why when you see like, this one character got fucked over? Yeah, you're beginning to see it now, don't you, bucko? Yeah, he's kind of getting screwed. Because this is the thing, guys. You just can't pull him unless you already have like a Yuno on your account. You kind of just don't want to pull him at all unless you have a Yuno on your account, because you don't know when Yuno's coming back. You just have to wait for her. Who knows? And that's not a good position to be in with a limited DPS character, just waiting for their sub DPS and praying that you might be able to complete their team. That's a rough situation, right? And this is the other thing. He's even got the special bonus of being a fusion character, right? And so you could even opt for, potentially, fuck it, right? A mono fusion team incorporating a unit like a Lupa. But there's no Lupa either, bro. Wait, why is her shit invisible? Oh, okay, there we go. Right. There's no Lupa either, bro. So it's really a matter of this. You kind of already need to have existing characters for this guy to not, like, be griefing your account. And that just makes him a complete skip for every new player. And the fact that a banner is being designed like this, where you're being told, just don't pull this if you're a new player, that seems kind of off to me. I'm not, like, particularly a big fan of that. Because remember what I said about this? You don't really want to pull this unit unless if you already have Cardathea or Sigrika, right? So you're like incentivized not to pull this unit as a veteran, and you're incentivized not to pull this unit as a new player. I don't really know what is supposed to be going on with these banners because they kind of feel unattractive as a whole to like various different parts of the player base. And I feel like I've never seen banners like this unattractive to like two different sides so strongly at once. Basically what I'm trying to say is, new unit-wise, it potentially is the most skippable update in the history of the game. New unit-wise. And that's unfortunate because that's just by Kuro's own kind of like design. It's kind of like by Kuro's own design because they decided, hey, let's put Hiyuki and Mornye on here. Fuck Jingran. But now we got to go ahead. Since we covered Jingran, I probably already got into it. You kind of really can't pull him unless you already have his other teammates like Shorekeeper, Yuno, Lupa, or Mornye. Now let's start talking about the 4-star characters in the first half because I realized I skipped that. They're both useless. Yang Yang and Baizhi are both giga useless, and you should probably never use them anymore. However, Sanhua's pretty decent, so that's pretty cool. And, like, I think as we mentioned before, Sanhua chasing her to S6 is kind of like the move, but, like, I don't know anyone that doesn't have an S6 Sanhua by now. But it's also fair to say there aren't really that many good users of Sanhua at the moment. It's kind of just like Luke Herson right now. So, I wouldn't be surprised if this is, like, a sign that, like, Sanhua Qingxiao might be eligible for, like, clears. Maybe she does enough basic attack damage for Sanhua to work with her. And, like, that's, like, a possibility. Not entirely sure, but that could be something in the future. Just keep that in mind. I think she's the only somewhat relevant character that's showing up over here for the unit. So, just wanted to mention that. 4-star weapons, on the other hand, they're all trash. Yeah, no, basically, they're so bad, I don't think it's worth even talking about these ones. So we're just, like, don't even think that there's a 4-star weapon option on these banners. It's literally dog shit. It's terrible. So yeah, those are the 4 stars. Now we can move on for real now. Hiyuki. This is what I'll say. I don't think this character should have reran right now. I really think she should have been saved for, like, a later patch, and you should have had Yuno or Lupa instead. But, yes, she's really good, and, like, I would recommend every person pull her. She also reran before Sigrika. Sigrika was in 3.2, she's in 3.3. I see the reason for why Denia reran, because Denia is likely a character that didn't get pulled that much during the anniversary, right? Because everyone was pulling her! Because everyone was pulling her instead, so that's why I'm a little bit confused as to why she's rerunning again, because I feel like her ownership rate is absolute insanity. Because you gained about 160 pulls during the anniversary, so I feel like most people got her. But anyways, if you still need convincing on why this is probably the best DPS unit in the game, let me start convincing you. This unit, with one team and one build, clears all the endgame content in the game, End State Matrix, Weewa, TOA, and clears it very, very, very effortlessly on her best team, which involves Soy Soy and, of course, Lucilla. You also could just use Soy Soy Lene, and you could also use Soy Soy, or you could use, like, Chisa Lene, and then also Chisa Lucilla. She basically has, like, interchangeably, like, 2 different supports and 2 different sub DPSs she can use for, like, a bunch of different team combinations, and they all fuck up everything in the game. I would recommend you pull her over Imith. I would recommend you pull this unit and build her team over every team in the game. And my recommendation for every, like, newer player, or really just any player in general, is to, like, have this team. because it is like it just does everything. I think it's the best team in the game because it just goes and murders every game mode, every single one with like the same play style and all of that. You don't need to change anything. It is just the most consistent team I played. So that means if you pull the soy, go for it, right? Because then you can just put, guys, remember what I said before? You can just slide into Lene in here and she's like almost the same. Or like if you don't have soy, it would do great. Put in cheese, so she's like almost the same, right? You get what's going on, man. She's just a very strong unit that does a lot, and like there's no regret at all in any stage of the process from pulling her. Oh, and she also clears without her Sig in those teams. But her Sig is also good too. But her Sig is also one of the most unnecessary things in those teams as well. Because if you have like her full, yeah, you don't. I think everyone can tell you do not need her Sig. Like we've done so many tests with it, you do not need her Sig, and that's like another strength about her character too. She is crazy. She's really good, and if you don't have her, you should get her. Zani done right. Have I done enough glazing? I feel like it really I think she is the best character in the game for people to pull. Like, so I'm just making that abundantly clear. Now we got this next one. Mornye's back, bro. Wasn't she just here? I feel like she was like just here, so it's like kind of surprising for her to be back already. But like, yes, she is back, and the only reason why she's here, I think, is for Qingxiao, so you can build the whole Qingxiao team because she's the DPS, she's the sub DPS, and this bitch is the support. This cripple is the support. That's kind of like it. So yeah, pulling Mornye right now, I think it's a very simple decision of whether or not you pull Mornye. If you want to play any Toon team, Mornye is a very, very, very recommended unit. However, if you don't want to play any Toon teams, she's useless. However, Toon teams feature Luke Herson, Imith, Lene, and of course, Denia, right? But a lot of those characters, other than Lene, also have different teams that they can play. Like Imith has Fusion Burst, for example. So on and so forth. So you really need to make sure you actually want to play those Toon teams with those Toon characters before you pull the Toon support. And if you are, she's an invaluable add to your account. She's going to be very good. But by proxy, if you don't have a Mornye or plan on pulling Mornye, Qingxiao is not really going to feel that good at all. And so I think Mornye's value inherently does depend on how many more new Toon characters get added. For example, if Qingxiao is the last Toon character ever, Mornye's value, in my opinion, is not that high because then she only has 3 teams. However, if there's another Toon character that comes out after Mornye, then that's a different conversation because then Mornye will have 4 teams. But you can kind of see over here, I think she only has 2 teams right now. She's going to have a 3rd when Qingxiao comes out, and then potentially a 4th, right? When another unit comes out. So we just got to wait and see. But for now, if you want to play your Imith, you want to play your Luke's, you want to play your Qingxiao's, go for her. But then you have also the other half of the conversation. But this is also another fair thing to say. You have the mono fusion side, right? Where people are running like Lupa, then they're running Mornye as well. I'm gonna be honest, guys, right? I don't feel like a lot of people are using their Mornye for mono fusion because I don't think Mornye mono fusion is even better than her Toon teams. I think all of her Toon teams perform better than mono fusion. So it's kind of like yes, Mornye can be used in mono fusion, but I think it's actually one of the worst ways to actually utilize her because her Imith team is stronger, and I think the Qingxiao team is definitely going to be stronger too. So it's like, yes, this was really nice when Mornye got released in 3.0, but I don't really think so as much nowadays because the more Toon teams you have, the less Mornye wants to be in mono fusion. So it's like this role is disappearing as she has her other stuff going on, right? So that's just something that I feel like should be mentioned over here too. But that's going to be the Mornye section. Now it's time for us to do the 4-star character review. We've already taken a look at Mortefi, and that's all we need to do. Do you want to know why? Because these other 4-star units are fucking useless. However, this is another fair thing to say. Alto might be like not dog shit with Qingxiao. I don't know, like maybe, bro. Like he's got arrow damage amp, like 23% arrow. Like he might be okay. You like stick him on static mist, and like he might work for her, right? Because like that. She just does all types of damage, right? It scales off attacks. He could use static mist and moonlit clouds, bro. It could go crazy. You know what I mean? I'm coping. But like that's a possibility for you out. I'm just trying to find any possibility because this character is shit. And Yangmu is like, don't even think about him as a unit. He's a parasite. All right, now let's start moving on now that the 4 stars are covered, let's start taking a look at the weapons. And this is what I'll say about this bad boy over here. This is, I think, the coolest looking weapon in the game. This thing looks so badass, it's unreal. It changes colors too. It also turns green. So, yeah, this weapon looks sick. But there's also another thing that people are speculating about as an HP scaler for Jingran. This is Jingran's weapon. HP scalers, at least from the one that we've had in the game, they feel like their weapon is mandatory because, well, there's no weapons that give HP as a stat. Except for their SIGs, usually. And I've looked and there's no broad blades that give HP except for potentially his SIG. So it's like, this is the case. If Jingran's weapon gives noticeable stats that are really hard to find elsewhere, then it is going to feel like a must pull. I don't think there's going to be any ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's kind of obvious, right? It's going to feel like a must pull. However, if it doesn't, then maybe not. Because what's a weapon that actually already exists? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. He can use this. He has to be able to use this. I'm just saying. Because that is about the shield part, right? Is the part that doesn't work on any character, but it will work on him. And that's a lot of defense ignore. Who knows? That's a lot of attack too. Hopefully he's got attack skillings, right? So yeah, I'm saying he's got at least one other weapon option. Like Cardathea had 0. He's got at least one that maybe does something. But we'll have to see. But like we said before, when it comes to HP scalers, their weapons do feel kind of mandatory based off the lack of split scaling. But I feel like if Jingran actually has split scaling, maybe not a bad idea. And of course, his details haven't even come out yet. And so when he's the second half character, we'll have a bigger... Don't worry, the video about his weapon and its value will be coming out. Don't worry, bucko. Don't worry there. Okay, now we got Hiyuki's weapon. You've already heard me talking about this one quite a bit, Frostburn. And the main thing you've heard me say about it was that it's entirely not necessary because Hiyuki and her teammates, they work together very well. One of the main reasons for why Frostburn isn't necessary is because when you have at least one of Hiyuki's negative status enablers, Glacial Chafe is a significant portion of your damage. And this weapon does amplify Glacial Chafe damage a little bit, but it's only 20%. The other amp actually comes from her teammates and like her kit itself. The end result is that this weapon actually doesn't have that crazy amount of like damage bonuses. It's got like 10% defense ignore, 28% Glacial Chafe amp, but like not really anything else other than that when it comes to the personal damage side. That essentially just makes it so that EOG, like this is one of the, I think, less powerful weapons in the game. I'm just trying to be entirely honest with you here. I don't actually think it's that powerful. I think Hiyuki's kit is strong. And so that's why Hiyuki on EOG kind of just doesn't even feel that much significantly worse. Because if a character feels like more of their strength is from their kit, then less of their weapon matters. And Hiyuki's one of the strongest examples of that because she's so good on EOG. And that's the other thing. EOG is also like a frost sword, right? So it's got like look, it's got the frost and stuff. So it like fits her because she's ice. You get what I'm talking about. Anyways. You don't need this. And you really giga don't need this for one specific reason. Starfield Calibrator is a support weapon. And support weapons typically operate in this way. Give Concerto, give the main stat of the support, and then give a buff to the team. If you think one crit damage substat, 16% defense, and some ER is worth 80 pulls, go for it. I'm just going to be using Discord, though. An R5 Discord, which gives like 25% less ER. You can still meet Mornye's ER requirements. Way more Concerto than an R1 version of the weapon, because you're probably going to have multiple copies of this. And like that's, I'd rather have Discord, because it actually makes your rotation faster. And this is also the other thing. What's on this weapon banner? Oh, it's right. Bro, it's like Kuro's telling you, go pull all the other weapons. Just build up pity on... If you feel like you need Mornye's weapon, go build up pity on these two. It'll be a better... It is literally better to build up pity and get a copy of one of these than it is to get this. I'm serious. It's better to build up pity on a weapon to get Discord. Get one of these weapons than to pull this. This is legit an account... Like this is one of the worst uses, I think, of somebody's resources that you can possibly have. I'd rather have one of these floating around as a stat stick. I'd rather have one of these floating around, even if it doesn't have a user, than have this thing. Plus, you'd have a copy of Discord, most likely, right? Just go for that instead. This is one of the, alongside Soy Soy's weapon, right? Or alongside good old Shorekeeper's weapon. These are some of the worst investments that people can make, and it is not worth the pulls in any circumstance. It's kind of just here so that you can laugh at the people that pulled them. Actually, you shouldn't laugh because they're likely whales and they're supported the game. So you should actually praise the people that have these. I don't have this, though. Because even though I do pull every character and every weapon, I still skip every support's weapon. I pull every unit and every weapon. And I have skipped every single support weapon. I'm not joking. These are the main... It's just these guys and Jeja. It's these guys and fucking Jeja, bro. Those are the ones I don't have. So yeah, that's going to be the overview. Now we got to get into the 4-star weapons. They're all shit except for variation. Or sorry, they're all shit except for Discord. I've already gone over why Discord is good. It's because it lets you skip Mornye Sing. So pretend that Discord is the only weapon on here and everything else is a brick, and you probably should be good for this weapon banner moving forward. Yeah, that's what I'll say. So yeah, you can probably see from the design of this banner over here, this is meant to be a like Qingxiao celebration. This is meant to be a, hey, go pull this unit, then go pull her support, and then go pull her other support. We're just going to throw in Hiyuki in case you missed her somehow during the anniversary, or you weren't playing during the anniversary and now you want the best unit in the game. We're going to throw her in here for some godforsaken reason. Go for it. And fuck this guy. Yeah, fuck this dude. Yeah, who cares? Hey, you don't have Yuno? Go fuck yourself. That's just what it feels like. Hey, you don't have Yuno already? Like, because that's like it. And what I really expected to have happened was like this. Instead of this unit, it's Yuno. And then I feel like this would have been a normal set of banners. And I have no real issues with. But the fact that Yuno's not here, you don't know when she's coming back, and she's basically slated to be, like, glued to the hip to him, and, like, you don't even know if you're going to be able to play that team, that's painful. And this is what I'm hoping. The 3.7 live stream will run alongside his banner, right? Just like how Soy Soy ran alongside the 3.6 live stream. And so I am just simply praying that Yuno gets announced as the first phase banner or the second phase banner of 3.7. And if that's the case, I'm actually okay with this. If Yuno is announced to run during 3.7, I'm okay with this because effectively, it's actually way more possible to build Jingran's team, right? Because you would just simply need to pull him, and then you can save the rest of the update to get Yuno, while for Qingxiao enjoyers, you kind of gotta go for both, right? And then, or one of them's gonna disappear. You get what I'm talking about, right? So if that's what they're doing, they're simply just waiting to announce Yuno for 3.7, then I think he gets a lot more appealing. But in a similar vein, if Yuno is not announced for 3.7, oh my god. Oh my god, he's fucked. Right? It's also like, it can be really good, it can be really bad as well, right? So you get what's going on over here. So my position on this overall banner and the design of it, it is still TBD. It actually relies on the 3.7 live stream for me to make final confirmations on it. But at a first glance, yes, he is getting fisted. I don't think anyone can really disagree with that. So yeah, hopefully this overview, this breakdown, this banner analysis was helpful for all of you. Let me know what you all thought. Peace.